You're listening to Studio Tap. Off topic.
Okay. So the other night, I did a podcast about some observations that I've been making over the last 6 months or a year, or even 8 years, but primarily the last 8 months, 8 months or so, about how I've been running the business, how we interact with clients, just how I operate in general. And, for the 3 people that listen to this, hopefully they're creatives, but I was trying to kind of share some experiences for people that would be considering, maybe there's an art director or a writer out there looking to start their own agency and haven't done it before, or maybe it's a contractor who's been doing it for a few years and looking to go to the next level and maybe hire some people on their team and try to start a small shop. That was kind of like who it was geared for. And I think I'd said that if I had any more ideas or thoughts that would pop up, I would do a follow-up. So that's what this is. And before I get into this will be relatively quick, but before I get into the kind of main part of this, I was talking to Heather a few hours ago, and she had said something that was kind of interesting, and it's unrelated to this, but sort of related, and we were just talking about clients and what we're doing for the rest of the year and all that kind of stuff, and she just kind of thrown out this line, what clients are we making the most impact with? And I thought, God, we should have this conversation every day, or every week, because it gets really easy to get lost into the weeds, and looking at timelines and deliverables, and oh my God, when's this meeting, and when do we have to get that done, and when can so and so work on this, and when are we going to be able to review that? And those things are important, but being able to step back and really think about, on a big picture, the impact that you're making for a client beyond just the regular, deliverables, and how proactive can you be with a client, and how available can you be for helping them solve bigger problems and helping them with strategy more than just kind of being an order taker. I mean, that's just huge stuff. And so being proactive and kind of helping, maybe leading clients to a certain respect, we definitely have our category of clients that fit in that world, and that's a great place to be, and that's where we were. I think the point of that conversation earlier was just how do we move more clients into that bucket. Some clients we don't work enough with or as consistently to kind of get there, although we can be proactive to a degree, but if you're only doing a project or two here and there, it's a different kind of relationship. It's doesn't mean you can't be proactive. It just means you're focusing on some other things that kind of allow you to be more proactive with other clients. And there's other kind of, I guess, categories of clients, but whatever. The point is, how do you get more clients into that pool of where you're making a positive impact for them? And then once they're there, how do you keep them there? And what are the things that you need to do to ensure that doesn't change? And I think another thing I was talking about last night was setting yourself up for success. And it's amazing more things don't go wrong in this business. I mean, there's so many people touching things, and the way technology works, to a certain degree, it's a blessing, but it could also be a curse. But kind of the thought I was having, or the story that I wanted to tell really quick, that was just kind of a reminder, was how quickly things can change. You can go from, and I guess if you're thinking about getting into this business as a running a studio as a business owner, there's a big difference between having thick skin as a creative and having either internally a creative director or an account director or a client critique your work. And if you've been in the business for any length of time, you get used to that, and you realize it's not personal, and it's all for the good of the work. And those are, that's just a job, right? So is being able to be in those conversations and be able to navigate through them and things along those lines. There's definitely a different level, and I have a whole new appreciation for, this isn't recent, this is probably in the last 6 years, for everyone I've ever worked with in senior management. It's just, the creative's one thing, and it's an important thing, but having those kind of business conversations that can be polarizing from, on 1 minute on one call, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then the next call, you're sitting there as a punching bag, taking every shot with a smile that can be thrown at you. So it's really interesting. And there's something in between too, on good and the bad, where clients are happy, but clients are happy, but maybe whatever. I don't know of another good example, but kind of in the middle on the negative side, it's maybe you're doing a lot of things right, but the value isn't appreciated, or they can't see why you're really trying to help them, and it maybe goes unrecognized. I guess more on the positive side, I can't think of a good example. I'll skip that one for later. But the thing I want to talk about is how quickly things can change, and they can go from really bad to really good really quickly, or it can be the opposite. So, but an idea that popped in my head after I stopped recording last night, this is kind of a sad story, takes place, but it's probably almost 20 years ago now that I think about it. But I was brand new to an agency here in Chicago, and I'd only been there a couple of weeks, and one of the flagship clients of the agency, that was a very storied client. They'd been a 20-year relationship, shared success, great work, all those kind of warm fuzzies that you don't see a lot in our business, but it was one of those really good stories. Anyway, at the highest levels of the client, they got new management, and like within days, they just said, "Hey, we're going in a different direction, and you're not invited." And so that they left. And I remember just trying to find out, just out of curiosity, like what happened. Was there something that we could have done different? And I didn't work on the business, but I was just curious about what kind of the history of it. And the ACD at the time just kind of looked up and said, sometimes you're only as good as your last idea. And that's so true in this business. Again, going back to Heather's comment about, where are we making the most impact? Those are great clients to have, but they can change really, really, really quick. So it's just kind of a not so much an insight, but just kind of an awareness of how quickly things can change for good or for the bad, and you just got to be ready to kind of ride that roller coaster. It takes a different level of tolerance, and it goes beyond just the creative critique into more of a kind of business critique is a whole other thing. So you almost have to grow another layer of callus to manage that and keep it together and be professional and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things that I think I mentioned a little bit ago, I have a new appreciation for senior management, and I haven't had to deal with the kinds of revenue numbers that some of the people did at my former agencies. I can only imagine the conversations that they had to deal with. But I guess I should say thank you to all of them for doing what they did. Oh man, I was never privy to those conversations, but I'm starting to get into some of those now, and it's really it's eye-opening, whole nother level. So if you're a young creative or not so young creative, and you want to give this a run, I'd highly recommend talking to somebody on the account management side or the senior leadership side, and ask them some best practices in terms of dealing with you're only as good as your last idea kind of conversation. So that's really it. That was just another one that popped in my head. I'm sure I'll have some more, and I'll try and do some quick ones over the next week or two. All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening.